Hey, what is up guys, Massive here, back to do another video, and I've got an amazing game here on Tournament LA. I haven't posted a video in a week, but it was sure worth the wait. This game was played versus Phoenix. This is a game where I played intending to improve and train for the league tournament. By the way, the first round of that league has concluded. I did make it out of that in the top of my specific group. Had to go through Rex for that, but I was pretty prepared, and thanks to the games I played versus Phoenix in the prior days, I was able to improve my skills and recover my gameplay micro and macro. I've been steadily improving as a result. So this game is already going to start off super weird with me going for this mutant hovel. Sometimes I like to do it and not invest so much into the rifle scouts. The benefit of this is if your opponent is rushing disintegrators, then you've already got mutant marauders, which are way better than the riflemen you get from selling watchtowers. A lot of people wonder why you sell watchtowers in this game, and the answer is simple. You don't have to queue them from a barracks. They cost $300 from selling the watchtower, just as cheap as it is building them from the barracks. So it's often better to sell watchtowers because you can place it anywhere around your base where you need it to be. So I've got this mutant here, which is not going to be too helpful because there's no rush coming. It's going to be really great at killing these buzzers. I can also stealth this mutant marauder squad in the Tiberium. That is a feature of the mutants. I'm going to be Zocom in this match. I'm on 4-2, and this game is going to take a turn for the crazy shenanigans. I'm going to go for a tier 2. I'm going to build 5 harvesters here. I could go for a 6th one. You guys heard me in the previous video say that I like the 6-2 ratio. But I want to scout Phoenix in this game because he is a scrin faction. I'm not sure yet what particular scrin he is, unlike GI and Nod factions where you can hover over the portrait of their infantry units to see their upgrades. And faction with buzzers, there is no such thing. So I'm going to have to scout his base, see his war factory, and then I'll be able to know what I'm going to do. It's very different, the type of game versus Traveler, as it is versus Reaper-17 or Scrim. But we see a Shardwalker there, so obviously we know now that he's Reaper-17. I built a rig because I want Phoenix to overspend. Much like in that game I played versus Rex, where I went for the one base tier 3. I am doing much the same here, but Phoenix will spot this. Buzzer does get into my base. Now I have tank as well for me. I don't have the zone troopers which I made versus Rex, but I do have the zone raiders, which depending on who you ask are better or worse. They do have those shoulder mounted anti-air missiles on them, which are very good, especially so in this pack. They have received a little bit of a buff there to help them versus the Venoms. But they do have that very inaccurate weapon. But their damage is more than the zone trooper. It's a trade-off, and it fits very well with the Zocom design. Shatterers, Zocom walkers, the zone raiders, those sort of units require micro, and they don't work without microing and specifically ordering them to attack the ground. You guys have to be accustomed to attacking the ground with those units, or they'll just miss their target. That's why a lot of people don't get much value out of Zocom walkers. But when you know how to hit enemy units, when you know their strengths, they are very effective. But I'm not going to go for Zocom walkers this game. I'm instead going to go for the hammers. I'm also building a Marv. This was unfortunate. The buzzer hive does get summoned in. I do lose some of my infantry there, but I'm going to be able to salvage one of the zone raiders. I just need that one squad member to put in my Marv, and I'm going to get the same hard point. My tip field is running a bit dry here, so I could transfer these two to the expansion. I'm going to do that just now. And the Mutant Marauder squad will save this Mammoth tank. And that's going to go in this garrison for even more value. You can start targeting down those mutants there. So great value from that Mutant Marauder. The Mammoth tank is still alive for me. Miraculously, that did escape. The rig is taking heavy damage. I'm trying to get this Mammoth to this third Tiberium field so I can get some income, because that really is my economy. I don't have any harvesters and refineries on my expansion, but I do have this Marv. And once this starts eating this field, I'm going to be able to fund these zone raiders with the hammerheads. And those can counter much of the Skrin arsenal. Shock troopers, by the way, counter zone heads very effectively. Especially since they've got a recent health increase. They're very effective against zone heads like this. But yeah, Shardwalkers as well, very powerful. So I'm going to go ahead here and build more of those zone raiders. This Mammoth tank, to my surprise, still alive. I'm just going to waypoint around this tip field. I've got the Mutant Marauder ranked up to the veteran status. Sadly for it, it's going to be sacrificed for the greater cause, which is to scout the base. I'm going to be able to scout this base. I'm going to see everything that is coming. Mutant Marauder will just move in there. You can see the fog of war is receding, or is being revealed. I purchased the scanner packs for my zone raiders, which increases the range. I'm not sure if it affects the range of the missile launcher as well. Perhaps that's something to test out, but that would give the missile launcher more range as well, if that's the case. I've got these 5 zone heads, which are obviously going to decimate Storm Raiders. There's only 3 storms there, so those are going to get taken out. Zone Raiders have the equivalent of a rocket squad in DPS against aircraft. Perhaps a little bit more than one missile squad, but yeah, that was not going to work out for Phoenix. So Storm Raiders are not the answer to zone heads with ceramic armor. Unless again you've got like 8 to 12 Storm Raiders unscouted. But you got to make sure that they're not stacking, because the missiles do splash damage on these Zone Raiders. So I'm setting up an expansion here. I've got the zone heads. You guys seen a similar game on Tournament Dust Bowl against Senna, but I'm playing here Phoenix, and this is a much tougher game because Phoenix does have his third, has the ever so powerful shard launcher upgrade for his plasma missile batteries. And I'm purchasing here the tungsten shells upgrade for my slingshots. These 2 slingshots are going to absolutely destroy the Storm Riders. Those Storm Riders are no match for these hovercraft units. Harvester gets destroyed there. That lone Mammoth tank is just there to cover these zone heads against threats such as Mecha Ps, which are very effective at destroying aircraft. They've received a recent increase to the range, which was as a result of me buffing the shard segment, because I have to buff both in tandem, otherwise the anti-air segment won't fire air units unless it's a full disc Megapede. So that bug is unfortunate, but we do know how to mitigate it. I've established myself a full green Tiberium field expansion, and while my Marv hasn't been harvesting my third field, that's going to be regrowing now. So by the time it's required for me to take my third, that field's going to be 3/4 full or even more. So this Marv took Tiberium that will be regrowing as we're speaking. This slingshot here, going to do some scouting. This was intended for the role of scouting. Looking at the game files, it was known to be the AA Scout, and that's precisely what it is doing here. I'm going to reveal all the base. I'm looking for the tier 3 and the tier 2. If I can snipe that tier 2, then these zone heads can go in unopposed and take out the power grid. That ever so powerful shard AA will take out one of my zone heads. Those are very expensive, $2,800 for a singular one of those zone heads. I've got the 2 Firehawks. I only built 2 because I want to destroy the plasma, the tier 2, to prevent him building the AA. I can see he's got it right there. I don't have my Strato Fighters So these Firehawks won't be able to get out of there quickly. And sadly for me, both of the Firehawks, no, just one does get out there. This hexapod has triple discs inside of it. He put 3 shock troopers in there. That's going to be lethal against these zone heads. Just 2 volleys and my hammerheads will be toast. Now to prevent these zone heads from getting drawn into his base, I've got them on hold ground starts. I can just put them in the line formation on the edge of his Tiberium field and they won't wander off into that AA defense. One mistake and I will lose all these units. You guys have to also remember these zone heads with the zone raiders inside can be de-garrisoned, and I can put them once again on the land. Hexapod there will take out the mammoth tank, sadly, but I'm going in for a huge push here. If I can harvest his tip field, that will be even better for me. I've got eco behind this. I need a shockwave artillery because I see he's got a lot of tripods. The zone heads flying overhead are great as well for support. I see he's moved the drone platform forward, so his AA defenses will be very much on the front line. I just carved out a portion of that field so he can place his AA. So that was potentially a mistake. Nevertheless, I did see the writing on the wall, and I'm going to evac all these zone raiders. So now they're going to be on the ground. And he's going to have to make his mind up here. Does he go for that plasma missile battery or the buzzer hive? He's already starting to place down buzzer hives, so these zone raiders here are going to be tricky to control. And since my Marv is in the stasis, it will not get affected by the EMP. It will get a couple shots off there. Marv still yet to be EMP'd. It does get EMP'd there. And this force of zone raiders is doing what it can, but it's just a really hard thing to control when your opponent has you surrounded like this. Tripods can shoot in a 360-degree angle. Their third tentacle can fire as well, but only targets from behind, which makes the tripod really good in situations such as that where there are enemy units all around. Now I desperately need to try and save these zone raiders, so I'm going to summon in some reinforcements here just so these shard walkers don't overwhelm me. I still got an army. If I can destroy these tripod husks, then losing the Marv is not a huge deal. On the flip side, Phoenix did use his phase and stasis shield, so he's not going to have a phase nor a stasis shield for quite a while. And I've got the hammerheads once again garrisoned up with the zone raiders, which will give me the ability to go and roam around this map and prevent him from pushing successfully. Those zone raiders with the scanner packs can outrange enemy screen units, but like I said before, the shock troopers can teleport under the hammerheads, snipe them. The double drone platform as well, very good for destroying zone heads. And speaking of, Phoenix has opted for that. You can see he's got an expansion in my field, so we're going to be fighting over that field in the next engagement. Marv is going to be coming out soon as well. Perhaps in hindsight, selling the tier 4 was a mistake, but I did use my support powers, so I probably didn't need it. That extra zone raider may come in handy. That Mammoth tank is just chilling over there. No way for it to repair just yet. I will have to move it to my expansion. There's a Reclamator hub there. I can repair units around that. And in this patch, the Reclamator hub does repair around a larger radius. This is a very tricky thing to hold off. Those shard photon cannons just ripping through my harvesters. Mostly all of my harvesters gets taken out there. Shard's very, very strong. And now he's going to start placing down these buzzer hives. He can double drop also the plasma missile batteries, but he needs a response to these zone raiders. He's got the shard walkers moving in. Now one upgrade he'd forgone here was the blue shard upgrade, but he doesn't have a lot of shard walkers, so the impact that would have had would be minimal. But this dual drone platform play is going to be very hard to dislodge. And this hexapod as well has the potential to destroy these zone heads. Look how much damage that is dealing. Something I could do here is build a combat support airfield, so I can heal those zone heads up on the front line. It's more inexpensive than a regular airfield, built in 5 seconds, doesn't occupy your primary build queue, and it has as much health as a regular airfield as well in this patch. This is a pretty hectic fight. The Marv does have 4 Zone Raider squads inside of it, so this is, as far as DPS is concerned, the most powerful epic unit in Kane's Wrath. The Eradicator hexapod there has 3 shock troopers with some corruptors to support it. The heals will be crazy, but I do land an EMP there, and all of these units will converge onto this hexapod. Heals are coming down on it, but it's just not enough to out heal the huge amount of damage from all of those Zone Raiders. That Marv and the Zone Raiders coming in clutch, taking out the Eradicator hexapod, which is exactly what I needed there. Tripods will be moving in, so the fight is not over, not by any means, but that was a great pickup from me. I've got 6 Zone Raider squads. Some of those are pretty low in squad count, so I'm going to build an armory, and I'm going to put those squads that are almost dead in the armory and replenish all the lost members. I focus on building that armory, but this fight is about to commence, and the tripods with that ever so powerful charged beam will focus on this Marv corruptors moving forward as well. But I'm going to target those corruptors with my sonic emitters and Zone Raiders before they get into range, and some of my Zone Raiders do end up dying there, but the Marv does go down. 3 of the tripods are left for Phoenix. He's got a lot of husk there which he can recover, and my army isn't looking too great now. I've got 4 sonic emitters, which is definitely a good thing to have against Reaper-17 because they don't have Devastator warships, so pushing into that is going to be tricky indeed. And I thought, hey, my best play at this point is probably rebuilding this Marv. I don't have a lot of income though. He's destroyed the majority of my harvesters. This Zone Raider squad will attempt to kill the remainder of those husks. The Hammerhead as well, just flying in to prevent more of them from being captured. These buzzer hives are being a real nuisance. And there is a trick you can do with the armory to replenish your Zone Raider squads instantly, and that is to waypoint your Zone Raider into the armory and then back out. It will recover the dead squad members, but the squad members will be on low health. But that can be synergized with the power packs upgrade, which heals the squad when idle. And in R20, the heal rate is pretty substantial on those units, but your Zone Raiders obviously have to be idle for that to happen. Heroic Zone Raider squad though, so you can see just how effective these units are against Reaper-17. Reaper-17 really do need a lot of shard walkers, buzzer hives, and these plasma missile launchers, but the micro has to be on point for you as the Zocom player. The micro I did there was almost perfect. I took that engagement and I capitalized on the mistakes that Phoenix made, so I'm going to now put these Zone Raiders into the Hammerheads once more. And I've done that a number of times this game. I've put them on the ground and I've put them back into the Zone Heads. The heroic one is now inside of that Hammerhead. So while Phoenix goes for anti-infantry, I've got these units now in the air once more. I can also put the Zone Raiders inside of APCs, but APCs don't have a lot of survivability at this point in time. Even the shard walkers will kill those APCs relatively quickly. So now I really just have to recover my eco. I don't have many harvesters. I'm going to rebuild them now. Not much blue Tiberium for me to take. I've got this Marv here. I'm going to move that in. And if for you, all of you who are wondering why my game looks so different, it's because I'm using the 4K mod, the alternate version. You can find that in the links down below in the description. And I'm going to put some counterattack onto his expansion. One other thing Phoenix didn't also do this game was make use of the growth stimulators. Playing as a Scrin faction, especially in the late game, you get a lot of value out of those growth stimulators. He would have maybe an extra field more of Tiberium by this time if he had built growth accelerators. So just reflecting on this game, he didn't get blue shards, nor did he use the growth stimulators. But considering the position I was in, and considering I had not much eco at all, I think I did well considering the dire position I was in. I was trying to recover from that Marv strategy. It was questionable, the effectiveness of it, but in my opinion it certainly made for a fun and unique game. The game is not over though. He's got an army rebuilt because it is Reaper-17. They've got funds for days. They can summon in the Ichor Seed and get themselves eco. Overlord's Wrath as well can be used. It actually spawns in regrowing Tiberium, so you get essentially another Tiberium field. You can put growth accelerators though on the Overlord's Wrath, fortunately. Can you imagine that though? I think the AI does it. Firehawks, I've finally got the Stratofighter, and the way you utilize Firehawks is you just fly in, bomb, and then Strato in back to your base. I assigned a bookmark to my airfield, which is by default Control J, Control K, and Control L. And all I have to do once I assign that bookmark is just press J on my keyboard, and I'll get jumped right back to my airfield, and there I can use the Stratofighter. It's a great trick and works really well with these air units. A nice little pickup there, taking out those 3 corruptors. Hexapod back out for Phoenix. I've got the Marv and a ton of infantry moving in, which is the cornerstone of a Zocom offense against Scrin. A lot of infantry, hammer hits, and the Marv. You really don't want to invest into mammoth tanks if you can help it. I made several riflemen just so I can contend with the buzzer swarm support power and these buzzer hives. I can kill the buzzers that spawn from those hives. And I thought this game, there's no way this game is possibly going to continue for 7 minutes, so placing the iron cannon is a foolish mistake. I need to try and finish him off. I can't underestimate him. He may have a hidden army. So I'm going to build a tier 4 just in case I ever need to use the shockwave artillery. I've got those 3 zone heads just flying overhead just in case things get dire. I built some foxholes as well, which are going to be great against these buzzers. Now, I'm aware buzzers do kill and clear structures, but the foxholes are there just so that they don't get crushed by the tripods. And another Eradicator hexapod, taking huge damage from those heroic zone raiders. Double buzzer hive gets dropped, so Phoenix still maintains the dual drone platforms, but these tripods are just no match for this infantry force. Buzzer storm gets summoned in, but I've got a commando inside of that foxhole, so every possible weakness I have has been covered. There's just no weakness there. No Devastator warships for Reaper-17 means they don't have many options in dealing with a mass zone raider strategy such as this, and that is going to be GG. So that was a pretty awesome game, I reckon, on Tournament LA against Phoenix, with those zone heads, with those zone raiders, and particularly that hold in the south where I lost that Marv, he lost his hexapod, and it was really back and forth. Interesting strategy early on, and I thought it was pretty unique. So yeah guys, hope you enjoyed that game. If you did, don't forget to smash the like button, I'd really do appreciate that. And yeah, stay tuned because I got another awesome game coming up. So if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, then do so you get notified. Anyways, this is me, Master Leaf. Peace out.